Hey, what's up, Exit the Matrix family? Bob here. Hope you're having a great day. Hey guys, I wanted to do a teaching today on the significance of the symbol of the pine cone throughout ancient religions to even the current day religions. And you'll find the pine cone in ancient depictions in India, on a lot of the Hindu temples. You'll find it in a lot of the cylinder seal depictions, from the Sumerians and Babylonians and Akkadians and such. And in the Vatican, in fact, there's a huge pine cone statue in one of their open courtyards. And it's interesting to note that the Pope has I don't know what we want to call it. I guess a staff. You could call it a magic wand if you want. But he carries around a staff sometimes that's topped by a pine cone. And of course, the Greeks and Romans also depicted the pine cone. And there's a very important reason for this, folks. This is actually one of the most important things that you can learn about ancient symbology or symbolism. The reason why this pine cone is so important, for one, it has many different meanings. And I'll kind of hit the outlying ones, and then we're going to go really deep into this. So, as you know, a pine cone, to release its seeds, most of the time it needs fire. Pine trees proliferate very heavily and densely after there's a forest fire. You'll notice about 10 years later, after a forest fire goes through an area in the mountains or something that's like a pine forest or has a lot of pine trees, you'll notice there will be just tons and tons of little pine trees growing. And that's because the fire releases the seeds that are protected by the outer shell of the pine cone. So, essentially, the fire is what releases the seeds of life with a pine cone. And that'll have a little bit of implication of what we're going to talk about here shortly. And then there's also a fractal element of pine cones. If you look at the design of a pine cone from the top, some pine cones have a Fibonacci spiral design in their makeup. And of course, for those of you that don't understand the symbology behind the Fibonacci spiral, you find it throughout nature, and that's because this world is run on programs. It is a type of simulation, whether you want to believe that or not. It absolutely is. This is not a solid world. It's illusory. It's based on the senses of the beholder of this realm that gives it the illusion of solid form and physicalness. But the Fibonacci spiral, to me, is one of the most powerful symbols in the world, because to me it explains creation in a simple symbol. And that is that point that the Fibonacci spiral starts at is that source energy, that beginning of creation, that point of creation. And from there, life spirals out from that. It continues to expand and compound and grow, ever growing for eternity. And if you want to understand the sense of the creator of all, the source of all energy and creation, whatever you want to call it, God, that the Fibonacci spiral is the perfect example of that. It's constant creation, expansion, forever. And the bigger it gets, the faster it expands. And it all started with that point of creation, that source of creation. And of course, I believe that we are co-creators with Source because we can directly interface in with the quantum field. And the quantum field, of course, is the underlying energetic makeup of creation. It's essentially the it's hard to put into words, folks, but I guess that kind of explains it. It's the energetic makeup of creation. It's the net of all, subatomic particles. However, the key to understanding energy is that energy is conscious. Protons, neutrons, and electrons are actually conscious energy. So, the pine cone. So, it can represent the Fibonacci spiral. At least some pine cone designs are in the Fibonacci spiral, not all of them. Some of them have different geometric shapes. Fire helps them proliferate. Pine trees proliferate more quickly. Not always, sometimes the pine cone gets broken up, animals dig into it and the seeds still have a chance to grow. Sometimes water can rot it enough that the seed can get loosened. And, however, fire is what allows the most seeds to proliferate. So now we're going to get into the real deep point about the pine cone. And yes, you know me, I love to take it all back to ancient Sumeria. And the reason being is because Sumeria was where the gods brought down civilization, was where the gods restarted civilization, was in the Sumerian tablets it talks about how some of these ancient cities like Eridu and such were basically brought down from heaven to earth. And I cannot completely explain what they're talking about, if it's just the concept of the cities, of these ancient cities, or if there was some kind of technology that was brought down to start those cities. We could theorize all day about that. However, the Sumerian tablets do talk about that some of the first original cities were basically brought down from heaven to earth and established on earth. So it's kind of interesting. The reason I want to go straight to Sumeria, though, is because, folks, you'll find ancient depictions of the Tree of Life. And this is very, very key to understanding our ancient past and our origins. And the pine cone is the most important symbol. And this is why. You will find very amazing cylinder seal depictions, and some of these are even carved on stone and such, of the Tree of Life. If you have not seen the Tree of Life, folks, in ancient Sumerian or Akkadian depictions, you have to go look it up. It's very important because our ancestors were trying to encode all of this information to us in simple pictures so that future generations could decode them. However, most of humanity chooses to ignore it, and religions and governments chose to dismiss it. And there's a very important reason for all of that. Because they don't want us to understand our true origins. They want people to believe in the false gods that have been set up over us through various religions. And they want us to believe in this Darwin-style evolution, which is total BS. Now, I've already said before that there is evolution. However, it's not in the way that Darwin theorized it to be. He was just simply talking about micro adaptations. And they turned that into like a scientific religion of sorts. Even though it's completely outdated now that we understand genetics. And we understand the fact that this is more likely a simulation. Now that we're digging into the realms of quantum physics. But let's set that all aside. I don't want to go down off a tangent. I want to try to stay on topic, folks. So, in these depictions, these ancient Sumerian depictions of the Tree of Life, I'm going to explain it to you, but you need to go. I think what I'll do is I'm going to put the most famous one that I know of as the cover photo for this video. I'll put it as the thumbnail so that you can see what I'm talking about. It'll be on the thumbnail. So, in this depiction, you have the Tree of Life, and you have these Anunnaki characters, the Anuna gods, one on each side of the tree. Some believe one of them is Enki, and some believe that the other one's Enlil. That could be. It could be a couple different ones. It could be Enki and his son Ningazida, which is known as Thoth in the Egyptian pantheon. And then you have these two creatures that are are next to the Tree of Life also, that are on each side of these Anunnaki characters, and they have like bird heads, and of course they have wings. They were called the Apkallu. Now, modern Christians that actually do take the time to delve into some of these ancient Sumerian, a lot of them like to wipe these Apkallu away, saying, oh, those are demons. Oh, yeah, those are the demons. See, they were using demons to manipulate mankind. Folks, that is the BS they tell you. The Apkallu were just symbolic. What they were actually the sages of the time. They were there were 7 sages. And as you know, that in symbology, 7 is a complete number. It's a powerful number in a lot of your ancient religions. There were 7 Apkallu that worked with the kings of the city-states and that worked with the Anuna. And they were sages. They were they had the most information. They were the wisest beings. And what these Apkallu were completely, we don't know. However, they were not evil. They were sages. They were wise men. Perhaps these were headdresses they were wearing, similar to what you found with the Egyptians. Now, Thoth was a humanoid. Thoth wore the ibis bird head. It was a headdress. You see this throughout North America and South America. All around the world, indigenous peoples have copied these same things, these ceremonies of wearing these bird heads and such. So just understand that. It doesn't mean that they're actually some kind of hybrid being, folks. So you have the Apkallus and you have the Anunnaki. And there's various variations of these depictions. Sometimes Enki and Enlil have wings also, but they are humanoid looking. They don't look like the Apkallu. But what's very interesting about this, let me first break down what the Tree of Life is, so that this will all start to tie together for you. The Tree of Life is not really a tree if you look at it. It's like no tree you've ever seen. The branches are in weird designs. And I'll tell you what those designs are, folks. It's when you look at it after I explain this, you'll see it clear as day. They are in the design of the double helix of the DNA structure. The branches are in the design of the double helix structure of human DNA. Okay? I had to repeat that because this is very important to understand. Now, on the ends of this tree, you'll find flowers. Now, current archaeologists and such have been, going over and over what they believe these flowers represented. Like some kind of a symbolism for fertility or something, with plants, because flowers, how they attract insects and stuff, and then that's how they get pollinated, and and all this stuff. Folks, it's very simple to understand this. Think about it. You have a tree in the design of the double helix, and this is tied in with the human genome. Now, this is very simple for me. I'm the only one. I've never heard anybody else make this connection to this symbolism. But in my heart, I believe this to be true, and it makes sense. Those flowers represent the female genitalia. Now, I'm not trying to be crude or anything here, folks. I'm trying to explain this as straightforward as I can. Obviously, there's been many times that the woman's body part has been described as a flower. Okay? And we don't need to go into the details of why that is. We can be adults about this. But we also understand that is the seed, obviously, into the woman's flower is what produces life, right? So, this is very interesting. So you got these flowers on the end of this human double helix DNA structured tree called the tree of life. And these Anunnaki and sometimes the Apkallu, they're inserting devices into this tree. One of them is like a rod that's got this like kind of ball end on it. Don't know what that is. Some kind of device, some kind of a magic wand or device or tool. We don't know what that is, but you can use your imagination, I guess. It represents some kind of tool, though. However, a lot of the depictions also show the pine cone being inserted into these flowers on the tree of life. Think about that, folks. The pine cone seed, right? Putting the seed in the flower. Obviously, you understand copulation if you're an adult. If you're a kid, hopefully you haven't learned too much of it yet. Grow up a little bit. It's okay to take your time. So, the pine cone being inserted into the flowers on the tree of life. Obviously, we can take from that the simple symbolism of the seed being introduced to the flower of the woman, which allows life to proliferate. Now, we're going to go real deep now. So, this pine cone, there is another major thing that the pine cone is symbolized as. And this is the most important point of all this. The pineal gland. The pineal gland is shaped like a pine cone. If you look at a lot of the ancient Hindu and Buddhist depictions of the pine cone, it oftentimes shows it in correlation with people's third eye. A lot of times they'll wear a hat with the pine cone, or they'll have a pine cone symbol on their forehead. This, folks, is because the ancients understood that the pine cone they used the pine cone to represent the pineal gland because they were very similar looking. And the reason why it represented the third eye was because the pineal gland is the seat of the soul. The pineal gland is the inception point or the connection point, however you want to kind of view it, of the spirit connecting with the brain, interfacing with the brain, the computer system that operates the human vessel, the human avatar, the body. It don't matter whatever you want to call it, folks. You are not a body. You use a body. And there has to be an interface there. Just like with a VR headset, you have an interface. When you play a VR game, you wear glasses or you wear the goggles, the VR headset. And that is your point of your interface with the video game. That's where you connect the video game to your brain, to your vision, through your senses. Well, folks, the pineal gland is the seat of the soul. It's the connection point between the brain and the spirit, the conscious energy, whatever you want to call it. So, very important here. This is deep. This is how amazing these ancient cultures were, folks. They understood life better than our modern day scientists understood it. And they're trying to tell us something, folks. And we choose to ignore it like it's just a fairy tale picture. No, folks. This was very important. You don't understand how hard it is to produce a cylinder seal. You don't understand how much time these ancient cultures took to write in cuneiform, to bake all these clay tablets, to produce these cylinder scrolls. And the way that they were produced, it's you have to understand, they rolled these things in clay, and you got these amazing pictures from that. The intricacy that went into designing these is very hard even to replicate nowadays. Yeah, a 3D printer can do it fine, but a human trying to do this by hand with the level of sophistication and art form that they used is amazing. Incredibly hard. So, the pineal gland, the seat of the soul, the connection point between the spirit and the brain. Now this will take us into why they fluoridate our water, why they poison us with toxic metals in our food, in our air, in our water. It's simple, folks. They're trying to calcify your pineal gland. And yes, your pineal gland functions with certain chemicals in your body. But, like I said, it's the inception point of the spirit. It's your connection with the divine. It's your temple. That's the seat. That's the throne, folks, in the temple. The mercy seat. You've heard of that in the Bible, right? That's your pineal gland. The temple's within you. That's why Yeshua always taught you don't need to go to a temple to learn. You don't need to go to a church to talk to God. That your temple is within you. The Christ within, folks. All very important information here. This may be one of my most important talks I've done. Because if you grasp this, you grasp our origins, at least to a certain degree. So the pineal gland, they're inserting it into the tree of life. This pineal gland, which represents our connection of spirit and body. This pineal gland that the governments of the world are trying to calcify and destroy, to cut off our connection to divine, to the source energy, to our higher selves. The most important point about this symbolism, folks, is that they were trying to also show that they were incepting spirits into the human avatar. The tree represented the human body. And if you notice, there's always like an intricate top on top of the tree. And it's also kind of like a flower looking thing. There's different variations of this. That represents the crown chakra, folks. It represents like the divinity. It's your head is the Hindus call it the crown chakra. It is the highest point of your energetic self, and they say that your crown chakra radiates well above your body. It's an amazing color. It's an amazing intensity, and that's because it's radiating from your temple. And this is why, folks, too, they always show ancient depictions of Yeshua and the saints and stuff. They always had a cross in a round circle over the head or behind the head. Now, everybody says that was like representing the halo. Well, yes, folks, the halo's just a Christian version name for the crown chakra. Same thing, folks. I mean, this is all embedded in our religions. We just choose not to understand the meaning of it. We choose not to learn what it means. Our ancients were smart, folks. They understood how to depict things in ways that any person from any language should be able to figure out. But our culture doesn't give a shit about this anymore. All we care about is BS. Oh, the Kardashians are on. Oh, I gotta go watch football. Oh my God, the Final Four's on. I mean, that's all people give a shit about nowadays. Or, oh my God, Biden and Trump. Oh my God, let's fight over politics nonstop. Folks, they've been hiding our origins from us the whole time, and it's been in clear sight. You just have to understand how to read symbolism. That's why I always tell people, go look up Jordan Maxwell, listen to his studies on this. Jordan Maxwell will get you up to speed on all this ancient symbology as fast as you can possibly imagine. You watch a 2-hour lecture of his, you'll walk away learning more than you probably learned in the last 5 years, of how our world operates and what all these symbols mean. And this is all important, folks. I mean, if you care to understand your origins, human origins, the Genesis story, then you should want to know these things. I mean, at least I do. I mean, it's fascinating and it's important in my opinion. So, not only were they encoding this understanding of how life develops with this tree of life, but they were depicting how spirits get incepted into the human avatar, how spirits get put into the human avatar. This was all a depiction, a representation of the body, the mind, and the spirit, all encapsulated beautifully in ancient symbology. And most importantly, it was showing that the Anuna were manipulating human DNA, that they had a hand in the inception of the spirit into the human avatar, and that they were genetically modifying the DNA also. That they were essentially adding some of their essence. They were hybridizing the hominids that were walking on the earth at the time. They took the most advanced hominid on the earth, which was still nowhere near where we are. And we know that there were many different types of hominids walking the earth. Some of them overlapped. Some of them even overlapped with Homo sapien, like the Neanderthal man. Now, they took one of those most advanced hominids and they upgraded their DNA. They added in their DNA also. They hybridized this being, and they did a couple things. They gave it the worship gene. They encoded this in. They were able to limit the lifespan of humans, and all of this is shown. Cannot be explained by modern day geneticists, and they even say that there was some kind of a how did they say it in real scientific terms? It was like, basically they were just trying to say that artificially our DNA around 200,000 years ago was manipulated. They won't even say it's a mutation because it shows that it was done in a laboratory setting, because somehow they fused two of our chromosomes together. They fused the telomeres together. We have 2 less chromosomes than all other primates. We have a worship gene that was edited into our gene makeup. We had our lives shortened later on. Originally, humans could live a lot longer, folks. And then somebody came along later and they capped off our lifespans. At 120 years, scientists say, is the longest that somebody can possibly live before they hit the complete cap, the cutoff of life in an avatar body. So, I've thrown a lot at you, folks. I hope you're absorbing this. Please reach out to me if you have any more questions about this. It is so important that we understand what this was all about. But that tree of life, that ancient depiction that is shown over and over again, even the Zoroastrians use that same depiction. However, they have Ahura Mazda in his flying device It looks like an eagle, a guy in an eagle with like this circular device that he's sitting in, and he's flying over this depiction of the human DNA tree, the tree of life. And of course, those of us that have delved into this understand that Ahura Mazda is Enlil, is Yahweh in the Bible, same character. And so, yeah, very interesting stuff, folks. I'm at work. I got a roll here. But I think this is one of the most important breakdowns I've done. Like I said, I will put this, one of the best depictions of this I can find as the thumbnail for this video so that you can take a look at it and see what I'm talking about. So, anyways, guys, I appreciate you guys, and I will talk to you later.